All right, man, peace. So now, brothers, this is going to be part 3 and the finale on the series about the liberal black females who have resorted to running to a resort in Costa Rica, allegedly to escape the rampant racism and rejection that they claim to be subjected to in America, particularly since Donald Trump was selected/elected to the White House. As I've already told you, brothers, much of this is just a facade and a covering for the fact that many modern day liberal black women no longer have the ability to communicate properly. They don't have the ability to develop a rapport with the so-called black man because they view the black man as being less than them. So now, and as I've already stated to you ad infinitum on this channel, which is going to happen to many of these liberal black females, they're going to find themselves isolated because the Lord created the man and the woman to work as a unit, not to try to compete with each other. But because the so-called liberal black woman is a two-dimensional thinker, she does not see steps ahead, what's coming for her, what's going to happen to her. Okay? They don't understand what's coming for them. They think that the light at the end of the tunnel is a guiding light when actually it's the headlight on a train that's bearing down on them. They don't grasp that. So they think that they're going to be able to keep pussyfooting around and staying in that nexus that I tell you brothers about in between their 3 altars, that being the globalist altar where they want everybody to hold hands and love each other, the racialist altar where they want to act like they're talking about black issues, quote unquote, and that they care about so-called black issues when they really only care about their own demographic, that being the liberal black woman, and then their main altar being feminist. Even though they try to reject the liberal Caucasian woman, they mimic a lot of their ideologies when it comes to quote unquote feminism. So all of this is going to come to a head on the liberal black woman, and you're going to see a gradual and steady degradation of their mentality, of their mindset, of their sanity. So pay very close attention to that. And make sure that you use a great deal of discretion when you pick the woman that you deal with, particularly the ones that you deal with on a serious level. But even the concubine that you deal with, you have to pick her with discretion and discernment. As you can see, this female here, just looking at her, she's trying to approximate what she feels like a quote-unquote righteous black woman should be. She most likely thinks that she's Nefertiti or something, or Nefertari, or whatever name she wants to choose for herself. She's taken the X as a nomenclature to try to align herself with Malcolm X. You saw that she had the photo of Malcolm X. A lot of these black females, they've never been taught anything. So they're trying to mix and mishmash different ideologies, and that's not necessarily their fault, because that really is a failure of the black man to be able to instill in them any real form of understanding of culture. So now they just trying to make shit up as they go along. But anyway, let's let them talk. I'm gonna chime in.
Stay in the United States, but to a white person who's doing their best to be the best white person they can be. I have no tips for a white person. My tip to white people is to let us have our space, let us have our room, and go hang out with other white people. We're okay, you know.
Well, clearly you don't have that belief, because if you did, you wouldn't have ran in Costa Rica. And let me say this, brothers. This is why, and her little rant is why, the liberal woman is not going to be involved in any problem-solving conventions or gatherings that are going to actually have a reverberation for so-called black people, because they're not problem-solving based creatures. They just want to talk, and they want to put forth a lot of emotional rhetoric that's not going to benefit anyone. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That emotional content that they have is what's used to raise up the children, and to be great mothers and great wives, to be comforters. So that's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But when it becomes a problem is when they're trying to engage in serious conversations and acting like they have what it takes to solve problems. But just to get to the point, no, the Caucasian is not going to quote unquote leave you alone. The man and the woman in this society is viewed as a stock option, as property. Okay? So that's why you get the birth certificate when you're born. America has been incorporated since 1871. America is a corporation, it's not a country. This is why when I make my videos, I tell you, brothers, that America is a subsidiary of the Global Corporation, which is headquartered in Inner London in Britain, okay, which is the headquarters of the international bankers and the major oil magnates of the earth. Okay, when I say magnates, I'm talking MAGNATES. That's where it's based at. So you're viewed as a bond. So you're owned. You're a debt slave. As a person, as a citizen of the United States, you're viewed as as collateral for the debt that's owed to the international bankers, and you have to work off the debt. So nobody's going to leave anybody alone. No, they're not going to give you your freedom, quote unquote. It doesn't work like that. Okay? And she doesn't understand that. But that's what happens when you so-called pro-black. You think that everything can be resolved emotionally.
You've done enough damage. Lokaha samasta sukhino bhavantu.
This retreat, much to Andrea's dismay, is held at a white-owned resort.
Isn't that something? The retreat is held at a white-owned resort. I thought you wanted to get away from white people. And I can't remember what video I addressed this. Many of these liberal black females delve into Buddhism or Hinduism because of the meditative aspects of those religions. You saw the lead quote unquote teacher, she had on the shirt that said Namaste on it. All right. Which basically is just a salutation, like a bow or a prayer hands when you greet someone. Namaste. And many of them are going into Buddhism and Hinduism. They're going into a lot of Eastern religions, once again, because they're searching for culture. That's why it's incumbent upon the so-called black man to figure out what his culture is so that he could teach the woman. And if she rejects it, fine, no problem. Good luck. But don't run back talking about how hard it is to be a black woman, because you don't really want to be empowered, because you don't want to give credit to the hierarchy. The hierarchy is supposed to be the man is the head. That's why, to me, when I saw this feature, what was so glaring was, where are the black men? Where are they? This was purposefully constructed like this by the liberal media who decided to report on this to glorify the so-called black woman.
Bother the retreat participants. They haven't cut white people out full time. But 20 minutes down the road, Andrea and a business partner have quietly invested nearly $100,000 to build up their own private retreat space.
This is where we'll have the workshops.
Is this just like a long con to start building your own black nation out in the middle of Costa Rica?
It is.
Starting with yoga. Yeah. Next is...
Look, the interviewer asked her, is this some long con job to start building your own black nation? And how did she respond back? It is. Meaning what? She's going to lead it. Once again, all this is about is trying to make sure that she can maximize the matriarchy and the black female as God complex. And brothers, I keep saying this over and over again. I don't necessarily blame her all the way, because a lot of this is predicated on the failure of the so-called black man to actually be able to teach them anything and to make them understand that you have an option. You can either obey or you can be left by the wayside. That's it. So-called black woman is waiting for the so-called black man to stop worshiping her. That's why it's disgusting when you see all these little silly, simple-minded, pea-brain niggas on the internet talking about the black woman is God. The only thing that means when I see that is your father failed you, and your mother most likely wasn't a real mother, for you to think that a woman or a regular man is God. That's an abomination. But it's very obvious, and even the interviewer is starting to figure this out, that this female here has a goddess complex. They just left that out of this segment because, once again, where are the men at? Why is this only for the so-called black female? In all reality, she's not trying to create any type of black nation. She's trying to start her business. You know, even though I joke about it, I joke like I agree with the interviewer. She's really just trying to initiate a major business that's predicated off of depressed black women. She knows that market is not going anywhere. That market is only going to get bigger and bigger. Depressed black women aren't going anywhere because they're the most proud and they're the most arrogant demographic of liberal women in America.
Be like a mini government.
I don't want to have a mini government, but at the same time, it will be a community of just like Black people living here.
What would you say to someone who's like, you know, as nice as this sounds like paradise for Black people, in some ways like it's motivated by the same hate that white people who want to create white nations and white spaces have?
I would say it doesn't have anything to do with them. This is about us healing our community.
Is it practical to create a Black nation in the middle of a jungle? Or to chase all white people off your property? Probably not in most...
Well, you already know the answer to that. You know that it's not practical, and you know that it's not going to work. And it's not going to work because it's not meant to work. The woman is not meant to lead anything. I guarantee you, if she's trying to start a community, it's going to be with her as the leader. Okay? That's all it's about. But once again, I give her credit. I give her more credit than I give many of these internet revolutionaries, because at least she has a business mind, and she decided that she didn't like it somewhere, so she left. All right? So I respect that. Once again, to all the internet revolutionaries and the angry pro-blacks who everybody's a coon this and a coon that, look, man, either leave America or start the race war. Because anything else, you just bullshitting. She left. She said, I'm going to go start me a business. She got fired from a previous job. Most likely because she tried to curse out the boss. You know, or hell, maybe she was sleeping with a white man on the job and still ended up getting fired, and that's why she mad at white people. Now, who the hell knows? A lot of these Black women, they have a white man in their closet somewhere. All right, especially a lot of the pro-Black ones. They on the internet talking all this blackity black shit, and somewhere up the line, they had a white man dick in their mouth. All right, don't let the damn Nubian head wrap and the ankh fool you. You know, she had a pink penis in her mouth sometime in the near past. But anyway, allegedly. But anyway, she has a business mind, and she actually putting her money where her mouth is. So I give her that much credit. But what this feature is really about is not so much her running from white people, it's her running from her relationship past and her not wanting to have to deal with the so-called Black man. And that's why many of those females ran down there, because they feel like they don't want to have to resort to having to depend on a so-called Black man for support. They have to maintain this facade of Black female independence and strength. So let's all hold hands together as sisters. Once again, brothers, the liberal Black woman has the mentality of a queen bee. Okay? She has the mentality of a queen bee. She only wants to have to delegate things to certain Black men and tell them what to do. After they've used you to impregnate them and bring forth their larvae, they cast you aside. And that's why so many of you guys end up getting caught up in that same dynamic of she was acting good until she got pregnant. That's because she didn't need you anymore. Okay? So you have to make sure that when you're dealing with the woman, that you know what her ideological leanings are. Did she grow up in a home with a strong male figure? Does she respect manhood? Does she respect you? Are you worthy of being respected? Do you have your shit together? That will keep you away from a lot of dumb shit. Because when I watch this feature, all I see is a bunch of desperate broads. They're at their wits' end because they cannot reveal their weaknesses to a man. To them, it's like revealing their secrets to their enemies. So they rather go to a resort with other women who are equally as mentally and spiritually broken down and confide in one another and what they should be confiding in their man with. All that information that they're relaying to one another, they should be confiding in their man. But because of the ideology of female independence and female superiority, which they learn from the liberal white woman, they can't do it because it goes against their programming. So that's the real problem.
Black people don't want to do that. But the feelings of isolation that drove Andrea to build her own community aren't that different from what drove Alexis to this retreat in the first place.
Andrea has completely given up on the U.S.
I don't blame her. I have been places outside of the U.S. where I have felt more at home and more included than I have ever in my community.
Is that... no.
Once again, I don't understand this. I don't know where this woman is from, but she comes off to me as a person who, once again, is unable to maintain a relationship with a man. There's plenty of places in the United States that you can go if you want a white boy to dick you down. Because that's really all this is about. When she says she doesn't feel included, she's talking about she can't get a white man to hit on her. That's all. Because what else could you be talking about? If you're so pro-black, why are you worried about how much the so-called white community wants to include you? What else could the problem be other than the fact that you cannot establish or maintain a relationship with a so-called black man, and B, you can't get the Caucasian man to take you seriously as a paramour or as a wife? Because there's many places all across America that you can move to if you're trying to blend in with the Caucasian and feel like you're all a part of a one community. Move to Seattle. Everybody up there race mixing and pansexual. Move up there. Right, go to LA. Go anywhere. Go to hell, shit. Come to New York City. There'll be a bunch of white boys want to dick you down. Don't worry about it. Bunch of pansexual women that'll rub coochies with you. But don't tell me that you don't like America because it's segregated, but then your answer to that is to come to a resort in Costa Rica where there's no white people. Like, what are you really saying? Other than you bugged out of your fucking mind. Even look at the interview. Even she's looking like, bitch, you crazy.
Setting thing. You say it with like this serene face, but to like go visit somewhere that you're not a citizen of and feel more at home than you do in your own country.
Yeah, that's reality. Unfortunately, that's the reality of our country.
All right, brothers. So that's it on this segment in regards to the liberal black females who decided that they were going to, quote unquote, escape racism in America by going to a resort in Costa Rica. To be quite honest with you, brothers, segments like this are the reasons why I constantly harp on being a three-dimensional thinker and making sure that you have a very keen eye when you watch many of these specials, these documentaries, these segments that they put on TV. Because if you just view it from a two-dimensional perspective, all you see is a so-called pro-black woman who's standing up against racism. But when you view it from a three-dimensional perspective, you understand what it's really about, which is tacitly and indirectly exposing how much the mind of the liberal black female is starting to degrade due to the fact that she has accepted feminism and it has alienated her from her own man. So now she has no one to lean on. You understand? And a lot of it's the same with the so-called black man. A lot of these so-called black men have no one to lean on and no one to trust because of feminism. And in the case of the black man, the embracing of the so-called thug culture and a lot of these other wild ideologies that the so-called black man embraces. When you don't have culture, you can't relate. Okay? So a lot of these guys who try to come on my channel in my comments talking about, oh, well, it's not about culture, it's about this. Look, dude, no disrespect. I'm not trying to hear no bullshit. I don't have time for the nonsense. Have a nice day. Shit like this is why the so-called black woman's running over there to Costa Rica, making an ass of herself, spending $2,000 on some shit that she could solve at home with a man with a brain and some good dick. That's all they really need. They don't need to be going down to Costa Rica for no damn $2,000. To talk about what? Some bro with 5 million bandages around the top of her head and a big ass ring through her nose talking shit about how white people shouldn't be allowed to leave America. Like, come on. These are the real problems right now, is that the so-called black man is not a three-dimensional thinker. The so-called black woman does not trust him. She's been taught to not trust men because they listen to the liberal Caucasian female. This segment to me was an embarrassment to the liberal black female, having a mental breakdown to where she has to run out of America, waste $2,000 to sit in a circle and sit in the lotus position and do a bunch of chants to the Buddha. Bunch of nonsense. But anyway, peace.